Good evening. I am an African. I don't look like an African, but I'm an African. I was born in South Africa. I was educated in Zimbabwe and went to university in South Africa. And I'm now a person of the world. I travel all over the world. I'm chairman of a world body. And it's interesting that an African from the tip of our continent chairs the world body on corporate thinking and corporate reporting. So let me just go back to the middle of the 19th century. So I'm going to repeat something I said this morning. I don't agree with Dr. Schluter that the church can always oppose something and Parliament will not agree. Because what happened in the United Kingdom in the middle of the 19th century is that the government of the day, representing society, decided to pass a bill to create an artificial person with limited liability, the company as we know it today. Theologians were opposed to it. Famous theologian Lord Thurlow, you can Google it, Thurlow, 1844, said only Almighty God can create a person. Man cannot create a person. It hasn't got a body to be kicked, a soul to be damned, and hasn't got a conscience. And the theologian was correct. If you register a company today, here in Kenya, it has no body to be kicked, no soul to be damned, nor a conscience. It's an inanimate, incapacitated person. Now, if you have an 18-year-old brother that got injured in a motor car accident here today in Nairobi, and you went to the hospital, heaven forbid, and the physician specialist told you and members of your family, I'm afraid this young man is physically very fit, he'll easily live into his 90s, but I'm afraid he's mentally incapacitated and you'll have to look after him for the rest of his natural life. And your family asks you to look after him for the rest of his natural life. It wouldn't enter the head of any Christian in this room to filch for him or herself some benefit out of this unfortunate human being's circumstances. You would be loyal to him. You would take great care of his assets and take great care that you made a decision in his best interests. Whatever skills you have, you would apply to him voluntarily. You would be diligent in your homework and plan for him short, medium, and long term. And that's exactly how the duties of directors develop for companies. Because the company is an incapacitated artificial person which has no heart, mind, or soul of its own, and the directors become the heart, mind, and soul of the company. But what happened in the 19th century into the 20th century, right till the end, until the turn of the 21st century, is that companies were run on a basis of maximization of wealth, profit, at any cost. And it was at a cost. It was at a cost to society and the environment. Just look around the planet, anywhere. You can go anywhere in the world. You will see pollution resulting from 20th century expansion, corporate expansion at a cost to society and the environment. We have the largest landfill in the world is not even on land. It's in the middle of the Pacific Ocean where the currents have caught the plastic bottles that are non-degradable, plastic packets, old tires, old buckets, and has created a mess of plastic waste larger than the size of Texas, in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. We have 7 dead oceans, 7 dead areas in our oceans, where the life under the sea can't live anymore because of the nitrates chemical nitrates on farms to speed up agricultural growth for the population explosion of the 20th century is washed down from rivers into the sea. So we actually have what a PhD student said to me many years ago. Dr. Schluter spoke about the people who come after us inheriting fiscal debt. When I spoke about the global financial crisis in 2008 at the Frankfurt Business School, a PhD student said to me, "Professor, the fiscal problems are not a problem of the new generation. It's the global environmental crunch which you and your generation created for us that we have to try and correct." And he was right. It's easy to fix fiscal problems compared with trying to rehabilitate planet Earth, to get it back to the state in which we inherited it. Talking about Christian values, it's a moral and economic imperative, and also a Christian thing, to leave the planet in a state not worse than we found it when we were created by Almighty God and put on this earth. We have a duty as transient caretakers. None of us own this planet. We might have title to a piece of ground, but we don't own it forever. It's passed on. We are transient in this world, and we have to make sure that we try and leave it in as good a condition as we found it. Hopefully, we'll try and improve it. It's the correct thing to do. And that also is a Christian thing to do. The other interesting thing about talking about Christian values, what did Christ teach us? He taught us to treat people equally. But what did we do in the business world? We actually gave primary of place to one stakeholder, the shareholder. We didn't until integrated thinking and integrated reporting came along towards the end of the 20th century and just into the 21st century. The integrated thinking being to give parity of thought to every stakeholder in the company, the employee, the service provider, the provider of goods. Know and learn of their relationships, their needs, interests, and expectations of the company. And with that understanding, making a decision in the best interest of that company, its long-term health, not the maximization of wealth. And if we as directors get that right, it's the right Christian thing to do, to assure the long-term health of the company, which is the long-term better interests of all stakeholders. And hopefully we'll leave the world in at least not a worse state than it is at the moment. And that we owe a Christian duty to those that come after us. Thank you very much for listening.